This is PIX on Politics Daily with Dan Mannarino.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Thursday Pop Daily. It is April 24th, PIX on Politics Daily, and hopefully you are having a fantastic day. I know the weather is gorgeous outside. We have the air quality alert going on because of the wildfires in New Jersey. Let's talk about, as we were talking about temperatures, right? What exactly that means. Spring, summertime, people are getting outside. They want to do dining al fresco, right? And a big part of that conversation, and a big thing that came during the pandemic was, of course, outdoor dining. And what exactly that looks like, what it feels like. There's been some changes to what exactly a restaurant can do, how they operate, how many people can sit outside, what the structures look like, putting them up, taking them down. There's a lot that goes into it. And frankly, a lot are saying the rollout has been pretty poor. And just applying to get this application done to get the outdoor dining permit has been tough. So yesterday, the City Council held a hearing about this. And I want to talk right now to the Executive Director of the New York City Hospitality Alliance about what exactly they were hoping to come out of this hearing and how exactly some restaurants have been affected. So Andrew Rigie is the Executive Director for the Hospitality Alliance, and he is joining me now. So Andrew, good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
So let's talk about this, right? Outdoor dining, a huge, huge plus for New Yorkers. But restaurants, frankly, have been saying that the rollout has just been tough. What have you been hearing before the hearing yesterday?
Yeah, like you said, outdoor dining was absolutely essential during the pandemic, saved thousands of restaurants, credited with saving about 100,000 jobs. And we were all really looking forward to the rollout of this newly evolved post-pandemic outdoor dining program. It was going to cut the red tape, cost less money. And there are some features in that new program that do that. But unfortunately, far too many restaurants have been deterred from even applying for the new program because of the red tape, the bureaucracy, and the cost. It's become cost prohibitive for too many restaurants, particularly smaller ones across the 5 boroughs.
So for some folks who may be tuning in saying, well, what's the process, right? A restaurant says, okay, I want to have outdoor dining. There's 2 options. You can have the sidewalk cafe, or you can actually have the street structure as well, right? So kind of break it down for us.
Yeah, so pre-pandemic, there were about 12 to 1,400 licensed sidewalk cafes across the city, the vast majority of them located south of 96th Street in Manhattan. During the pandemic, that skyrocketed to about 13,000 restaurants across the city doing outdoor dining. Now, under this new program, there's probably not even 3,000 restaurants participating, so it's plummeted. Some have sidewalk cafes, which are a bit easier, and some have the roadway cafes, the streeteries. And we've seen those numbers really plummet because the council made that a seasonal program, meaning that at the end of November every year, restaurants are going to have to pack up those streeteries, put them in storage for those 4 months, and then April 1st the following year can set them back up. And the cost of the breakdown, the storage, the putting them back together has been cost prohibitive for too many restaurants. So that's a big problem.
Here's what's interesting, right? Because you mentioned that the council was the one who voted on that, right? On the plan. So the council did pass the legislation that changed the rules of outdoor dining, and meaning they had to take it down. But then yesterday at this hearing, it was almost as if the blame was being passed back and forth between the Department of Transportation as well as the city council, saying, well, no, your guys are at fault.
So, actually during my testimony at City Hall, that's one of the things I said is we don't need to be pointing fingers. What we need to do, and we said, join us at an outdoor dining table, the mayor's administration and the city council, and come together, because there's blame to go around. But the reality is that if we come together, we truly can achieve what everyone wanted to achieve, which is the biggest, best outdoor dining program anywhere in the nation and world. And unfortunately, that hope is slipping unless we have reforms. And it's going to take the city council through legislation to make some changes, and then also the city's Department of Transportation to change some policies and do what they call rulemaking to make some changes. So there's blame to go around, but there's also the ability for everyone to fix it and take some credit for that to go around.
Andrew, what's interesting is I understood the need, right? I think a lot of people understood the need for a bit of a plan because some of these were dilapidated, they were falling apart, some of them just looked pretty dirty, right? So I understood that there was a need for the plan. Where exactly did the rollout go wrong for the restaurants? Why did it become cost prohibitive for many of these restaurants who were applying?
Absolutely. We needed to standardize the pandemic era program for a more permanent, long term success of outdoor dining. One of the problems, like I said, with the roadway dining, having that seasonal program has really just meant participation has plummeted. That's cost prohibitive. You have other restaurants on the sidewalk cafe side
Hold
that
on,
had
Andrew, hold on.
sidewalk
So
cafes. Yeah,
is it cost prohibitive because they have to put it up and take it down, and they're responsible for that?
correct. It is
Okay.
cost prohibitive. The cost to purchase, store it, set it back up is cost prohibitive. They just can't afford it. On the sidewalk cafe side, we had restaurants that had sidewalk cafes for years, even sometimes decades. But under the city's new rules, they have less seating. One of the restaurateurs that testified at the city council hearing said that they lost 40% of their seats that they had for about 15 years before the pandemic. It's tragic. They lose money, workers' hours get cut back, jobs can even get cut, and it's a very popular restaurant, so their customers are very
Yeah.
unhappy too. It's a lose lose.
Well, what I noticed in some of these structures too, and we had a reporter that was on it, was that there's also a limit to the amount of people who can sit in the outdoor structures, almost making it sound like it's not worth it at times, because some of them looked super tiny that you could only fit 4 tables. So was it worth the cost and return on investment?
Yeah, that's another challenge with the clearance requirements in certain areas where some restaurants are only getting a very, very small area and they go, all the costs compared to the few seats, I just can't make it up. Again, one of the restaurant owners, bar owners in Brooklyn yesterday testified, and she started talking about the hundreds or thousands of beers and hot dogs
Yeah.
and burgers that she would have to sell just to break even. So she's trying it. It's great for her, but she had a lot of concerns like, this is supposed to be something to help my business, create jobs, give New Yorkers and visitors what they want, but instead it's turned out to be a lot of headaches. So outdoor dining is great. There's a lot of opportunity with it. And, like I said, we don't need to point fingers. We just need the
Yeah.
city to come together, make some changes that were brought to light at yesterday's city council hearing.
So yesterday, Councilmember Julie Menon said that the hearing was to, as you're saying, gather feedback, identify solutions to streamline the application process, and ensure that outdoor dining remains a viable and thriving option for restaurants throughout the city. So in the hearing, and I didn't watch the whole thing, but I saw that it did get contentious at times with that finger pointing. Were there solutions that were presented or things that seem viable, not only in I guess what I'm looking at is keeping it up year round rather than putting them up, taking it down, putting it up, taking it down?
Yeah, there definitely seemed to be support about providing a year-round option for the roadway streeteries. There was also talk about streamlining the permitting licensing process, not only having an online option, actually having a window where a restaurateur can go and sit and talk to someone and guide them through the program in person versus just doing it virtually. So there were some really great ideas that came out of the hearing. We proposed a whole bunch of them. Restaurateurs did, government officials did. And now's the time, it's an oversight hearing. That's what you do. You investigate what's working, what's not working, and you double down on what's working and you get rid of what's not working and you start making changes. So that's what we hope comes out of it. There seems to be a lot of momentum. And
Yeah.
now that it's the springtime and we're going to be seeing people eat outdoors, I think it's going to be much more timely than maybe it has been over the past couple of months when, it's been the winter time.
Yeah, and what do you see, I guess, is there a trial period right now, right? Like, I think it came up in the hearing, the DOT saying, well, let's just see how it goes for a season before we make any changes. So is that kind of just give it the summer, the spring and the summer, and then kind of reconvene? Is there plans for another hearing or another meeting where everybody's at the table saying, okay, this is what worked?
I don't think there's a need to wait. We know what's broken. Let's not wait to fix it. Let's start fixing it right now. And over time, I'm sure we'll still learn more about what works, what doesn't work, but there's no need to wait. There's not a hearing plan, but I understand that some of the city council members yesterday said that they're going to actually be introducing legislation to make some of these changes. That will require another public hearing. We'll certainly be there advocating on behalf of the restaurant industry, making sure small business owners' voices are heard throughout the legislative and regulatory process. And we also hope the Department of Transportation and the mayor's office go back, take what was said at yesterday's hearing and make changes that they can on their own. Like I said earlier, some of the changes are going to take city council action by legislation, but there's other rulemaking and policy changes the Department of Transportation, the mayor's office can do basically in-house.
Yeah, help me understand one thing, Andrew, and that is that to keep it up year round means you're kind of keeping them up in the middle of winter, right? So snow removal is one of their issues that DOT presented, but also just the temperatures, right? Do people want to eat outside when it's cold? Because these don't have heat.
So that's actually one of the other issues that came up, both for the sidewalk cafes, because restaurants are paying for them year round, being able to use nice vestibules to enclose them, like many restaurants have done, and you've seen throughout the pandemic, where you could use nice heaters to keep people warm. You get the extra seats. Jobs don't fluctuate. Restaurants that have a lot of outdoor dining sometimes have to reduce worker hours, eliminate jobs entirely other times because they lose that seating. Same thing with the roadway streeteries. For the colder months, you could somewhat enclose them to keep people warmer, protect them from the elements. It's something that's been done. And, with the right policies in place, you can do it so it really looks nice. And it doesn't have some of the other issues that you had mentioned and we saw during the pandemic when that was an emergency program thrown together to save small businesses and save jobs and let people socialize. Take what wasn't working, restruct it, make something nice.
Yeah, well, it seemed like they did that with the actual structure itself, with the floors that could kind of be pulled up to clean underneath it because people were worried about rats and vermin and so on and so forth. It is something New Yorkers care about, and not only because it affects them because they get to eat outside, but it affects so many restaurants, workers, and so on and so forth. Keep us posted on how this kind of plays out, okay, Andrew?
Absolutely, will do. Thanks for having me.
Andrew Rigie, Executive Director of the New York City Hospitality Alliance. Good to see you.
You too.
All right, everybody. And so we're going to stay on top of that story. And we're also staying on top of the mayor's race. There's a lot going on in the world of the mayor's race, as well as the governor's race in New Jersey. PIX on Politics Friday night at 6:30 p.m. We're going to be talking to New Jersey gubernatorial candidate and Congressman Josh Gottheimer about the race for New Jersey governor and what he hopes to do in the days ahead before the primary to surge in the polls. We're also going to be talking about another hearing that played out this week, and that was about helicopter safety over the Hudson and East Rivers and what exactly that looks like if rules or laws need to change. We're going to dive into that on Friday night at PIX on Politics at 6:30 p.m. That's going to do it for us on this April 24th. I'm Dan Mannarino. Enjoy the rest of your day.